I'm going to start with the Irish Independent this morning. And the Irish Independent back page is GAA refusal to move qualifier tie for Straits Curragh Chiefs. So this is the same story as yesterday from the Racing Post, and it was one of the tabloids as well. Basically, that's the Curragh have asked the GAA to move the game on Saturday, but they didn't. Group behind an All-Ireland League believe new format can generate 10 million. This is Dan McDonald been doing great work on this story. The group behind the creation of an All-Ireland League have made it clear they want the all-clear to push ahead with the plan by the autumn, and they claim that they're going to be able to generate 10 million per annum. Basically, it's going to be an All-Ireland League with a top tier of 14 teams and 2 lower divisions of 10 teams regionalised below that. So obviously you just divide the country however, not through the 6 counties, and regionalised the Division 1A and Division 1B or Division 2, whatever it's called. And there's a claim that the broadcaster is already willing to pay $1 million for TV rights, and that if you finish last in the Premier Division or whatever it's called, you'd get more prize money than the 240 grand that is currently available just for the Europa League qualifiers.
That's a big statement.
So you're saying that if you finish last, you're going to get more than you currently get for qualifying for the Europa League. So it's hard to turn that down, but you'd need to see the pounds, shillings and pence.
Where is that money coming from?
Yeah, they're saying it's coming from sponsorship and it's coming from TV money. So
and Irish American networks, peace and reconciliation funds, I think, are 2 other things that Dan McDonald points towards in that piece. Essentially, like, you do want to see, as you say, this down in paper where this funds are going to come from, because if they've got a €1 million TV deal offer, that's 4 bottom place finishes right there, covered in your TV deal money. Tickets, gate receipts on top of that. Bit of what are the other specific funds that are going to come from, and who is actually pledging this money is what I want to know.
Yeah, and look, I'm sure that's exactly the question that the clubs are asking of the steering group who are behind it at the moment. And TV revenue is a massive part of the plan. They would hope a rebranded league will be attractive to sponsors, and Lucid's group say one company's already offered in excess of 1 million per year as a starting point. Discussions are planned with others, so they're looking for a headline sponsor and a number of official partners. I don't know, there would definitely be support for something like this, because it would be a massive change in Irish sports life. But they would suddenly be vying with the GAA for sponsorships and the RFU. And like their big ticket sponsorships, most of the sponsors who sponsor the hurling and football championship are paying £1 million. That's generally considered to be the industry figure that gets quoted about how much it costs to be those. So you're suddenly looking at one of those companies, and there aren't 600 companies in Ireland who have £1 million lying around to put into sport. But look.
Well, is that not a really good thing for sport in Ireland, that you could have a new player in the game that could be as powerful as what the rugby organisations and the GAA organisations, the GAA competitions are? That you could have another player in the market. Will it not up the standard if there is a failing championship, for example, something that perhaps isn't exactly the most brilliant thing to watch during the summer, that they may have to up their game as well?
Well, when you were reading the Strategic Review Committee, you must have been struck by how important the success of other sports was in prodding Dublin in the ass to get their act together.
An obsession.
Yeah, it really was. Like, it wasn't barely mentioned. It was like, we're losing our children to other sports, and unless we fight back with money and coaches, we're not going to get them back. So yeah, of course, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is going to happen, or if this is going to move forward, it's going to happen pretty quickly, because he's looking for the new league to start from May 2021. So next season you'd need adjustments for the season to move back a little bit to actually allow the 2021 season to go forward. So we're going to know pretty soon.
From April, it's going to finish on New Year's Day, so there's a winter break. It's kind of the perfect season.
Yeah, I like it. A New Year's Day finish would be pretty, like, that will be the one day where you're like, am I actually watching the Premier League today? There's actually stuff going on here that could decide a title in Ireland. And I don't know, straight away I think there's a number of people who would immediately switch on Irish football than people who wouldn't. And I think it's a great idea on the surface, but it's actually making it happen, and where the money's going to come from to allow this huge prize money figure that's being thrown around to happen. The Irish Examiner this morning is not trying to win, time to say goodbye if you're thinking that, insists Kylie. The comments I mentioned just a moment ago. Inside, Kieran Shannon is saying John Horan must give two-tier championship plans room to improve. The opening couple of paragraphs from Kieran Shannon is about the kindest way to describe how John Horan is going about fixing the fixtures is that it is as if after commissioning the Brennan brothers to assess and improve his hotel, he has them arrive on site only to find him already unleashing his inner Dermot Bannon, who is about to give a foreman the thumbs up to do a garish giant water fountain being plumped in the middle of the foyer, with a miniature one to go in every other room in the building while he's at it. Yeah, I like how that goes there. Sure, work around that. That's not a problem, is it, John and Francis? Work away off a blank canvas like that. That's his way of looking at what John Horan's contribution to the championship debate has been. So we're going to see, this is another thing we're going to see pretty soon. Next Saturday, we're going to have this 11-person fixtures calendar task force, which Horan and the GEA are bringing together to actually give two alternative proposals in terms of how the All-Ireland Football Championship should work. So
two proposals, that's it, out of the 6 million that are out there. And these are the only two we're talking about. No, that's a good idea, but we can't hear it.
Yeah, like I don't know what they're going to be. We do know that they're both going to be Tier 2 championships, or two-tier championships. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, he's getting to work. Like I think to a certain extent you have to say fair play for actually just biting the bullet and saying let's do this and let's create the debate that it's actually based on what Croke Park are doing in an active way. And let's see what happens. Let's see what the two proposals are, and let's have an open debate about it. Let John Horan be out there and debate the points if he is really behind one of them.
I think potentially the biggest story of the day is James back for Sam Bid. It's the back page lead on the Herald this morning, and it turns out that he hasn't had a cruciate ligament injury, which I think we all suspected it was when the injury happened, and just trying to get up and not being able to. But it turns out the scan has come back and says it's not cruciate or medial ligament, and so therefore it is very good news in that he might actually be back in time for All-Ireland semi-final and final. So won't be around for the 13th and 14th of July. No specific date given for his return just yet, but that's massive news.
Huge news. 13th and 14th of July, they should be fine as well. That'll be their easiest game in the Super 8s. It'll be in Croke Park against one of the qualifiers, so they can live without James McCarthy for that. They can probably live without James McCarthy for the duration of the Super 8s. They need him back for an All-Ireland semi-final.
Yeah.
The Irish Times goes with what could be Donegal's semi-final opponents. It's Donegal, and it's Darragh O'Shea's column saying Donegal suddenly flavour of the month again. Darragh O'Shea, of course, last week saying that Cork had no hope against Kerry. I don't think he's doubled down on that or gone back on that.
What did his column say last week?
Cork, I give Cork no hope, or Cork have no hope. I think it was more to do in general rather than just the game, but it definitely suggested the game. So
how many points do you think is?
I would say his column gave a 14-point swing to Cork.
14-point swing to Cork. Is that what Owen Sheehan is going out there and he's saying in public that Darragh O'Shea's column gave Cork a 14-point swing against Kerry?
I would walk out of Páirc Uí Chaoimh and said it out loud if I had to. I absolutely would. I would sing it from the pulpit of life.
And what would you do if Tomás O'Shea was right behind you when you said that?
I don't know. I'd go a bright shade of red, as he said. I'll pass the message on to him.
So this is exactly what happened.
This is exactly what happened, yeah.
You were like, what? Darragh's column worth 14 points? And Tomás said, I'll tell him so.
Yeah, exactly. I was walking out with a few mates of mine, and I did say Darragh's column was worth 14-point swing, and Tomás O'Shea overheard me when he was walking out from his co-commentary duties, kind of like you get caught by the teacher saying something in class, and he says, I'll pass that on to him. I don't think he was too happy, to be honest, but...
What did your column predict that Kerry would beat Cork by?
I didn't predict anything in the column. I just said the matter-of-fact thing that it would have been an absolute calamity had they lost. I did say here last Friday that Kerry would have won by 7 or 8, that they were going to cover the spread. And guess what happened? They did not cover the spread. The other story here on the front page of the Irish Times Sports section is around Offaly. Mahon happy to ride some luck with Offaly, says Ian Reardon. After wins over London and Sligo, faithful manager is looking forward to Laois test. If Offaly win this weekend, this is absolutely incredible. I was actually, just before we clicked record yesterday, chatting to Shane Lowry, and how he was saying how incredible, how absolutely insane it would be if Offaly could make the Super 8s. And now it actually isn't the most ludicrous notion. I make them outsiders for this weekend, but you look at some of the scores they put up, and they're capable of having enough firepower to cause a lot of problems to Laois and actually outscore Laois at the weekend. Then suddenly they're in within one draw of the Super 8s, and really you have to look at John Mahon and just applaud him in terms of what he's done with a number of teams during his managerial career. And this would, getting Offaly to the Super 8s, where would that rank in terms of
that would be right up there.
Now,
I mean,
where we are making two giant leaps forward to them being in the Super 8s, and as I say,
big on.
And just to reiterate this sub-headline, after wins over London and Sligo, so, you know, some people could say they've got a soft enough way to round 3 of the qualifier so far.
Here we go. England on the brink. Morgan's side outplayed by Australia at Lord's. Captain denies claim he was scared of Stark. So Kevin Peterson, an ex-teammate of Owen Morgan, said that Morgan was scared of Australia yesterday. Morgan was like, no, I was not scared. And but it looks like England might be about to crash out of the World Cup. Though we were told by all the papers they were going to win. Remember, they were like, England going to win the World Cup in England? And then now it looks like they're not even going to make the semi-finals. So, FA exit for key strategy guru is a Matt Hughes story there. Nadal criticises seeding policy. Rafa Nadal unhappy with the fact that Wimbledon has their own procedure for deciding on seedings for the tournament, which he's known about forever because they've always done it. So I guess it's just a reminder that Wimbledon is on the horizon. Roger Federer is ranked above him.
The Irish Daily Mail this morning goes with Frank's home. Club legend Lampard set to rejoin the Blues while Japan pay penalty as Dutch sail on. Another slightly controversial penalty decision yesterday. See the Netherlands beat Japan. And a Sheedy remedy for clash with the Ash fixtures. So Liam Sheedy has called on the GAA to ditch the traditional Sunday slot for the Leinster and Munster finals and play one of them on a Saturday night. Of course, it's something that's worked fairly successfully, it seems, with the Munster Football Championship. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do that. So it's a 2 o'clock and a 4 o'clock throw-in this weekend.
Frank Exchange. He starts next week on 5.5 million a year. That's much more money than has been touted in some of the other papers. It's only 4 million that Frank Lampard's getting, depending on what you're reading. United Glazer fear. Man United have cancelled 2 phone-in programmes on their own TV channel over fears of anti-Glazer calls. I mean, you need to be committed if you're going to make your way through the vetting process on a phone-in show on MUTV. You need to be committed to it, which I guess Man United fans are, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say how great it is that Jesse Lingard is out there having a great time in the States. Yeah, that's all I want to talk about. Yeah.
It's pretty easy to actually get your way through that vetting process. We should actually try that out. We should try and see how far we can get on Manchester United television.
Just wanted to say Roy Keane's a great player. That would work, wouldn't it? David Silva has told Pep Guardiola he's going to have one more season at Manchester City, and then Gordon Manning says if Davy can add the Leinster Senior Hurling Championship to his list of titles, he ought to be given his own museum. I mean, it's a fair point if Davy Fitz is successful this weekend as well.
He's won it all if he wins this weekend, except for, as Gordon Manning points out, the Ulster Championship. So he needs to, first of all, reinvigorate the Ulster Championship, and second of all, take a county to the title.
What Munster title did he win? Who did he win that with?
Waterford.
Did he? On the way through. Were they not a backdoor in the middle of the season? Oh, they won the next year. Right.
Yeah, obviously didn't do one with Clare. Or did he?
No,
he didn't. Back page of the Mirror is perfect 10. Silva, I'll play one more year at City after a brilliant decade, and Europe's my last dream. £12 million then to bag Lampard, they say here. And Shane Lowry quoted saying, it's now 10 years since I lifted this. I want it back. That is, of course, the Irish Open. We've also got John McEnroe quoted here. Pits of despair. Tantrums ruin my chances of winning lots more Wimbledon singles titles.
2010 Munster title was Davy, obviously, and then here it is. It is the the Star here. Blue Monday. Lampard on brink of 3-year deal back at Stamford Bridge, and they're saying €4.5 million a year. Autumn deadline for plan. The man behind the plan for an All-Ireland League has set an autumn deadline for clubs north and south to get on board. It's Mark McCadden's story there, and then a Green Machine. Irish athletes Paul Byrne, Dermot McGranahan, Catherine McManus, Brandon Ari and Amy O'Donoghue following the dynamic new athletics quarter-final event at the European Games in Minsk. So there they are, obviously thumbs up to the crowd. Earlier the boxers Regan Buckley and Michael Nevin secured Ireland's first medals by guaranteeing bronze in the ring. And then that's the David Silva's going to do 10 years and retire, or sorry, to certainly leave Man City. And then Tyrone have 3 players facing injury concerns ahead of the game against Kildare: Pádraig Hampsey, Richard Donnelly and Kieran McGeary.
Licking your chops.
Look, sure.
Are you just about to Euro us all?
Yeah, well, no, not really. Kildare had to feel a little bit hopeful. Tyrone haven't shown just yet that they're the same team that they were last year, and in the qualifiers last year they weren't that good.
No, it's true. They did sneak through. Back page of the Racing Post is England eased to 7-2 for World Cup after Lord's defeat, and it's pretty much cricket all the way here as well. The Guardian goes with not running scared. Morgan defiant after Australia hand out a hammering at Lord's. And then finally, the Daily Telegraph is taking a kicking, England's hopes and balance after defeat by Australia.
Okay, so one of the other big stories that no doubt you'll have had some WhatsApp about overnight is the story from the local press in Meath. This is about Andy McEntee. We can stick this up here. So, Meath Chronicle, I'll take the effing head off you if I effing see you near the dressing room again. One question led to Andy McEntee's angry confrontations with our reporter in the wake of Meath's Leinster final defeat to Dublin in Croke Park on Sunday. So they published that last night. And here's Jimmy Gagan's story, how my one question sparked an angry response from the Meath manager, confrontation under the Hogan stand. So you might have heard, you would have read about the question which sparked all this. I'll take the effing head off you if I effing see you near the dressing room again. McEntee launches verbal attack on Meath Chronicle reporter who asked a simple question in the wake of Meath's defeat to Dublin in the Leinster final. So the question was, will players be released from the squad to play in the Club Hurling Championship this weekend? And apparently the Meath Chronicle say this has been an issue in the past about players being released. And so he felt like it was a fairly straightforward question. And I mean, the answer is no, right? The fairly straightforward answer is no. You can just answer the question. But instead, Andy McEntee said, and I don't want to misquote him here, but something like, "That's a stupid effing question. I'm not answering that." And that was in front of everybody. That was in the assembled press pack. And then the reporter went out to the team bus, parked outside to talk to a couple of players. A couple of players came out and spoke to him, and then McEntee sees him, and that's when he's alleged to have said what the Meath Chronicle are reporting that he said this morning. So, not a great look for Andy McEntee.
No.
You just generally need to rise above this stuff and go, I'm going to answer that question and say no, they're not going to be released. Or it'll be up to the players. It's a matter for the players if they choose to play Club Hurling Championship this weekend. I mean,
yeah, but it obviously wouldn't have been a matter for the players. The answer is obviously no to the question. He may have genuinely thought it was a stupid question. I often think that when it comes to those stupid questions, in inverted commas, after a big defeat like that, would a manager not be delighted to hear something like that? As in, it's a perfect opportunity to talk about hurling for a moment and not talk about the fact that your team scored 4 points in the Leinster final. The subject has been moved away from your team's failings quite nicely for you. So I would have thought that it wouldn't have been too much of an issue for him. Of course, it's inconvenient, that sort of question. And storming out of a press conference, it's like, okay, you can understand the anger at that point, and it's a genuine feeling that it's a stupid question, and he storms out, okay, that's forgivable. But what happened outside the team bus, though, is just... that is a level above. Like, that is sort of this time last year, Andy McEntee versus who's it, Paddy Nealon, who reffed the Tyrone game. The sort of explosion of fury immediately after the game. This obviously happens a bit after the game, so it's not in the heat of the moment as much as it was against Tyrone last year. So again, not a great look and not a great wave. This is like one of the last memories we have of Andy McEntee and his public utterances this year.
Well, obviously they're not finished.
Well, they're not finished. They've got one more. They've got one more.
There's a good chance they're going to make...
two more potentially, or Super 8s. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. My feeling, like, we won't know until next Monday, but my feeling is that it's going to be extremely, extremely tough for them to pick themselves up from that. If that is... It
depends on who they get, right? If they would fancy themselves against the winners of Offaly and Laois.
They would, but like...
they can't get Offaly and Laois because they've already played them, so a good point.
They play both of them, actually, yeah. So that actually reduces their chances a good bit. They'll get one of the...
Westmeath, Kildare and another crack at Tyrone. Either way, from those two games, they're happy. Right, relatively happy.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get up for a Tyrone game.
Yeah, they definitely will after what happened last year. But is this not the kind of sign of a management team that have been, like, you talk about how can players' confidence be chipped away at by an absolute devastating result like it was last Sunday? But what about a management team? Like, is that not the signs of somebody who's kind of been affected by the result and is clearly extremely angry after the results? Like, that response doesn't happen if Meath put in a good performance. Like, I'm confident in saying that. The genesis of this was Meath having an atrocious second half showing against Dublin. Even in the first half, shooting was way off. A hugely frustrated manager, his team, despite the fact that Dublin are way ahead of them anyway, his team underperformed. So he's coming away from it extremely angry. His confidence as a manager perhaps has been chipped away at, and that is perhaps the reaction we see. Like, it doesn't excuse anything that happened. It may excuse, you know, an angry or a curt response in a press conference, but saying he'll take the head off a journalist when he's talking to a couple of players outside the team bus, if that journalist ever comes near the dressing rooms again, which kind of has a looming threat over
He's
it.
obviously going to come near the dressing room again, because that's his job. He works for the local press. His job is to report on the Meath football team. So he's going to be, if I was him, I'd be at training tonight or whenever their next training and going, all right, this is my job. Are you going to stop me doing my job? Don't think you are, because if you are, then suddenly this thing explodes into a much bigger story. Then it's already a very big story. So apparently the Meath Chronicle did contact the Meath County Board. In the aftermath of the incident, which was recorded on tape, an email was sent to both the Meath PRO, Kieran Flynn, and Secretary Mairead Delaney, outlining the Chronicle's unhappiness at the treatments of its reporter at the hands of the manager. The response on Monday evening bizarrely focused on the initial question that ignited McEntee's fury, rather than the nature of the former Ballyboden manager's second and far more serious verbal attack. And I'm quoting here from the Meath Chronicle. This is the response in full. Cushton and me are aware of an incident involving the Meath City football manager and a reporter from the Meath Chronicle. Our policy on the question asked by a reporter is, as always, in line with T.06.22 and their own Reelicon regarding, say, good lads, the Meath County Board, that's it. What procedures can we hide behind here? All our squad members and CCC, Cushton and me, respect that rule, and indeed that fact is included in the charter agreed with all our managers and GPA representatives at the start of every year. Jesus, I don't even know what that is. They haven't helpfully published it. So all they're talking about is the cross codes, and the GAA individual player are encouraged to make their own decisions, and hearsay talk of things being different is just, that's what it is, up to the players. So there you go. There's an answer to that. Like, well, everybody signed up. It's up to the players to make their own minds up.
Yeah, I'm sure the players could be encouraged to play for the inter-county football team if that inter-county football team has a crucial round 4 qualifier coming the following weekend. But I guess there's the answer to the question. So
we were in touch with the Meath County Board last night, and they said we're investigating the matter and have no further comment at this point. But certainly it's a much bigger deal now for the next 24 hours than it needed to be if nothing happened.
For sure. And also as well the unnecessary nature of it all. Like, was Andy McEntee just happening to be walking to the bus and he spotted him? Perhaps that's what happened.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what happened. Yeah.
So, like, I guess he could have walked around a journalist, but clearly, whatever the nature of that question really annoyed him. Like, I don't know if there's any previous history there between McEntee and that particular journalist, but it must have. The anger was lingering there when he's walking out to the team bus, which you would presume is a little while later.
We trust that the Meath Chronicle will accept that in this delicate situation it is in both their interest to move forward and continue the excellent relationship with the Meath Chronicle that has remained for generations. We would hope to continue that relationship in a similar vein in the future. That's the last line. That's the real... presume you're not going to print the story, lads, because, you know, you need us. That's my reading of the subtext to that. And then they did print the story. So, I don't know, I got it from several WhatsApp groups last night. And
yeah.
I'm sure the... Well, if you're in crisis mode now, if you're the Meath County Board, you're just going to come out and you're going to say, we investigated it, this is what we found, and this is our actions. And I'm sure the audio of this exists as well. So if that's exactly what happened, Andy McEntee just needs to come out today and say, shouldn't have done it, heat of the moment, very upset. We scored 4 points in the Leinster final. How do you think I felt? I'm going to make it my business to meet this reporter and shake his hand and say no hard feelings.
Yeah, potentially that's the way to do it. It does kind of have
the only way to do it now, right?
It does kind of have the bang of Davy with the local journalist the year after Clare won the All-Ireland, wasn't it? Obviously, you have
Peter O'Connell.
You have Jim and Declan Bogue as well. That's obviously quite a different situation altogether. That was a very prolonged sort of annoyance with Declan Bogue. So it wouldn't be a championship summer without a bit of needle between a local reporter and a manager. It's just the thing that's kind of taken this onto a level which is different is just the altercation outside the bus.
Yeah, which is completely unnecessary. And I'm sure Andy McEntee must regret that.
I'm sure he does. He has to. Like, I mean, he doesn't get to where he is by being somebody who would kind of go through life and think that was kind of an acceptable way to actually behave towards somebody trying to do their job and doing something which you would imagine was fairly benign.
Shouldn't the Meath County Board just have, like, when they got the email saying this had happened, phoned them and said, here, listen, we just need to get out in front of this. You're going to have to say something here along the lines of, oh, I put my hands up, heat of the moment, let's move on.
Yeah, and you probably need to do that today or tomorrow.
No, they should have done it last night when they got the email.
Yeah,
straight away when you get the email, when you're told this is what's happened, you respond like.
But now they need to. Now that let's just say the dust has settled a little bit more. It's really on the ground.
It's done now.
And now that the damage is done, there still needs to be a response, because this thing, as you say, could actually get worse. And it's addressing it this week before they go into an absolutely vital week for them next week, because they could get a good draw. And it could be a game that they're expected to win. But this could be something that penetrates the camp in terms of the mood of the dressing room and all that. So, I don't know. Will it actually have any tangible impact? Maybe it won't. But it's not a good look for Meath football. Not a good look for Andy McEntee.
No, and it puts them on a bit of a sticky wicket, because it's not the first thing that happened. There was obviously the situation after the Tyrone game last year. And, he did, in the immediate aftermath, say he was emotional. And everybody, I think, came down off the high horse of, because you can't be treating referees the way he treated that referee that day, irrespective of how unjust you feel things have become, because the whole country's watching. And there needs to be a sense of, okay, well, referees are sacrosanct, because otherwise how are you going to get referees to continue refereeing? And he did say, I was completely emotional and that was a mistake. Mm-hmm. I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. One last point on all this in the papers today, it's Alan Brogan's column in the Herald. And he's got some fairly interesting. So he's talking about Kevin McStay making the point in the Sunday game about the fact that McStay had to tap up rich benefactors, and so wouldn't it be much better if Croke Park centralised how much money each county could spend on the county teams and paid for that, so that no money was being siphoned away from development. It's a flawed idea, I think. But anyway, Brogan makes the point that if that was to happen, it would level the playing field significantly. And what you could do is force counties to sign up to a charter, part of which would be to include the requirement to provide at least 2 players for media and promotional activity on the week of a game. And then he goes on, really interestingly, to say players are wrapped up to a ridiculous level these days, and we, the GAA consuming public, and the GAA itself are the big losers. Talking about reading Zach Moradi's interview and whether or not Philly McMahon, when he talks about addiction, does that do the Dublin footballers any chances of winning in All-Ireland any harm? And it clearly doesn't. How come Jurgen Klopp can speak to the media the day before the Champions League final, but certain inter-county managers won't even speak after matches anymore? It's interesting because the Dubs didn't do their traditional pre-match press conference. Instead, it was just a recorded message that Jim sent out, which was basically like, this is the injury situation. And I don't know if he listed off every single Meath player the way he normally does and says these are all class players. But what Alan Brogan's talking about here is, to me, very applicable to the current Dubs situation. The tension occurs when players... I'll start again. And despite perception, most players don't mind doing media. The tension occurs when they're equipped with an invisible script they have to stick rigidly to, or a list of issues about which they're forbidden from answering questions honestly. I would say this applies to the Dubs a lot. Players' personalities are being shielded from us, and it's to no one's benefit. We've been saying this about the Dubs for years, for the first 3 or 4 years before they would finish, become all-stars and come in and talk to people. You hadn't a clue who they were, and they looked like they were all kind of... can't say anything in this because we've been told what to say. So, I don't know who Alan Brogan is talking about specifically, but you can apply it to the Dubs, and it's interesting that he's making that case. Yeah,
this is a collection of adults who go and they speak to people who are also adults, and they speak about issues that are important. And sometimes some of these adults might be boring people, or they might have nothing to say about certain things, and if that's their honest belief, then so be it. But there are some players who are very interesting, a lot of players in that Dublin camp who are very interesting, and especially in the off-season when they come in, they speak to us and they speak to other people. They're extremely insightful characters, and they're brilliant on matters outside of football in particular. The fact of the matter is they've been so trained up to this point where there's no point really talking to them about football anymore. It's anybody who's got an interesting life outside of football are the people you want to talk to, and that's the level they've got to. But because Dublin are the benchmark and everything else they do, this will suddenly become the benchmark in terms of how other teams deal with the media.